Che motivo gli ha fatto decidere di costruire la sua propria macchina da corsa?
Semplicemente che io sono stato licenziato dall'Alfa Romeo.
The sacking, forcing Ferrari to build his own cars, was the most constructive move Alfa Romeo ever performed for motor racing. That became apparent in 1952 with the debut of the famed Ferrari 500, the most successful and to many the most beautiful race car ever built. Driven by Alberto Ascari, son of an old Ferrari teammate and friend, the 500 gave him his first world championship. As it had won 7 out of 7 the year before, the 500 was entered unchanged for 1953 when it won the first 7 out of 8. For a car to go from the drawing board to victory in its first 14 races was without precedent and has never been duplicated. One of those drawing boards belonged to engineer Aurelio Lampredi, who designed the engine in a single day of intense creativity and later recalled that Ferrari brought him sandwiches so that work wouldn't stop for a moment. It was again the symbiosis of Ascari and the 500 that afforded Ferrari his second consecutive world championship. At the end of 1953, Alfa was a mere memory, and Ferrari the measure in motor racing. It is essential that any great team anticipate periods of adjustment and change, evolution and revision. 1955 was such a year for Ferrari. Ferrari was running the year-old 625, modified with larger brakes, while it worked on a new generation of racers. It was not considered as any threat to the Germans at Monaco, where the rule was thunderous acceleration out of the corners. The mighty Mercedes had taken the title the previous year, and the sleek silver cars, usually led by Sterling Moss or Juan Manuel Fangio, were to sweep every race in 1955 with one notable exception. Maurice Trintignant, driving the 625, started the 1955 Monaco Grand Prix on the 4th row of the grid and worked his way up through the field to take the checkered flag and put a crack in the Mercedes domination, showing that an off-season for Ferrari is merely one when they don't walk away with the World Championship. The managerial skills gained when Scuderia Ferrari was racing cars made by Alfa paid enormous dividends 2 decades later, when Ferrari took the cars from the disbanded Gianni Lancia team and produced a world championship. With chassis modifications and a power boost to Ferrari standards, the solid machines won half the 8 races on the 1956 race schedule. Juan Manuel Fangio was in the winning car.
La Ferrari ha ingaggiato i piloti che erano disponibili sul mercato, ma oserei dire che non sono le fabbriche che ingaggiano i piloti, ma sono i piloti che scelgono le fabbriche. Difatti i piloti intelligenti vanno sempre dove c'è la macchina vincente. Fangio è un esempio. Per 5 anni ha scelto la macchina migliore.
The Ferrari team has had a number of decisive turning points, and 1958 was one of them. Having gone from 12 cylinders to 4 to 8, Enzo Ferrari finally settled on a V6 called the Dino in honor of his son. snatching the title from drivers of the quicker but more erratic Van Walls. The steadfast Ferrari took Mike Hawthorne to 5 second placings, a third and a fifth. The founder's principle of rugged reliability never paid higher dividends, winning a world championship, even though the titleist won only one race, the French Grand Prix at Reims. For 1959, the most radical change in Grand Prix racing, the rear-engined car. The banked Berlin track encouraged maximum speed, a factor Ferrari had always been noted for. England's Tony Brooks took advantage of it. Brooks was not the only winner at the German Grand Prix that year, as the victim of this spectacular crash walked away from the wreckage. Brooks' victory here in Berlin showed that Ferrari still had top machines and men, though the rear-engine British cars were pointing the way to the future. Put the engine behind you, put the championship ahead of you, they said. But Ferrari was adamant. Horses pull wagons, they don't push them. As an act of defiance, Tony Brooks gave the pulling horses of Ferrari the 1959 German Grand Prix.
It was with considerable regret that I decided to leave Ferrari at the end of 1959 because I could see, as they had a successful 1.5 litre car running that year, that in 1961, when the formula was going to change to 1.5 litres, that the Ferrari would be the car to beat, and in leaving Ferrari, I was giving up a very good chance of a further shot at the World Championship in '61. Of course, subsequently, this proved to be the case. In '61, it was only a question of which Ferrari driver was going to win the World Championship.
The question was settled in favour of Phil Hill, the first American to take the title. When Ferrari finally entered the rear-engine sweepstakes, it did so 2 years after the British, but 2 years better.
Our strongest asset in 1961 was the engine. We did have a definite edge on power, and Ferrari, of course, down through the years, even up to that time, had been famous for being able to get pretty high outputs out of given engine sizes. That was our strongest point. On the other hand, we gave away a fair amount of that advantage to the fact that our chassis weren't anything like as pleasant to drive in the handling department, and they were heavy, and we had to resort to all kinds of trick things like high negative camber angles in the rear wheels that raised holy Ned with the tire manufacturers, who were always at us because our tires were getting up to critical temperatures on the inside rear.